Hey everybody, I'm Anna McEwen. And now for Bob Switzer with the Epic Narrative.
Well, welcome back to the Epic Narrative. Not that you need to know this, but I'm recording like several of these today, and it's been pretty fun. So I just had a little walk with the dog. He's gotten so cute at this. Now, Zacapa, a lot of you know Zacapa. He likes to hang out with me when I do recording. If you remember the beginning of of season 3, I believe, he would hang out with me, and he was a puppy, so he was incredibly curious and rambunctious and did not do well. I mean, he did fine for a puppy. Honestly, it was not any disciplinary issues. He just was a puppy, right? But now we're here, and he sees me get like the microphone and the computer out and go up to the bedroom in the RV because that's the recording studio. It has really great, it's very dampening. Like there's no echo in here whatsoever. And he literally just kind of lays down. He moves around, but he doesn't do anything. Literally today I tried to get him to do something because I was doing multiple episodes. So I tried to get him to eat a bone. I gave him a new toy. He wasn't interested in either one. It's like, nope, we're recording. So he like lays at my feet, or he'll lay like right behind me. I have to be careful because I do wander around while I'm talking. And bless his heart. He's a good dog, really good dog. It's one of those good dogs, and it makes you think, oh, we should get a second one. And then you think, but man, if the second one is like not like this, if the second one's like a massive yippy dog and doesn't listen, like this guy's smart. To be fair, if we disciplined ourselves and trained him, he'd be like off the charts. But we love Zacapa. He's a good dog, aren't you? He's like, Dad, I'm just laying here. Do what you want to do. All right. We're going to do what we do on the Epic Narrative. We're going to tell a story. We're going to roll through a couple things. Chapter 18 of the book of Numbers, and it says it's pretty much a rehash of all the priestly duties and the Levites' duties. And to remind everyone, remind the Levites and everybody who's involved in the tabernacle of the offerings that they're to bring. And we've read it all before. So why put it here? Like why, as Moses is, man, that's a word those two words are run together. As Moses is writing this down, why does he rehash this? And I think he does it because he wants to remind the Levites and the priests, listen, your calling was not destroyed by Korah's rebellion. Sometimes you get involved in ministry. Somebody does something stupid, and you're lumped in with everybody. And that's happened to a lot of churches, right? The pastor had some affair, or the music director did something, or there was, fraud, or there was embezzlement, or whatever. There's something that happens. Unfortunately, it's usually a really large church because that's where the money is and that's where people are drawn to. And I'm sorry. No, man, there's so many trails to go down. Stay focused, Robert. Okay, so you get lumped in with that, right? Something bad happens at a church and you get lumped in. Matter of fact, there's yep, I'm going to go here. Sorry, Bob. In multiple churches that I worked in, there would be conversations by those on the top of the pyramid to the rest of us little people that basically said, don't do something stupid because it reflects bad on me, right? I'll get lumped in with you. During COVID, back in the day when we thought it was real and not just the flu, I put that in the recording. I know. Bob's like, oh my God, I can't believe you did that. I did. I said it. My personal opinion. There. Okay. Does that work better? In my opinion, back when we thought COVID was real, my wife and I, we were like, this is ridiculous. Government came out. Churches are shut down. We did not want to shut down. People at the top of the pyramid, they were like, we're going to shut down. We're like, why are we shutting down? If people like, we can do, at the time they had that 6-foot rule, right? We're like, fine, we can figure out a way to do that. Like, we can keep people safe. Like, if they want to wear the whatever on their face, the face diaper, let them wear whatever. But we shouldn't shut down. No, we're going to shut down. I don't want to be on YouTube. That was his reasoning. I don't want to be the church that ends up on the news. I don't want to be caught up in a Facebook deal where we get splattered all over social media and et cetera, et cetera. Basically, I don't want to take the risk of being lumped in with somebody who made a bad decision. So we shut down. Whatever. Another day, another story. But that's I think is what is going on here. I think people, the priests, the Levites are looking around going, Korah destroyed our name. He destroyed our reputation. He took out every good guy who's still a part of the priest tribe, the priestly tribe. He made us all look bad. And I think Moses is writing down their calling, their duties, their offerings, all that stuff again. He's like, hey, you're not all lumped in with Korah. You guys are awesome, and your calling is special. You are called to a role that naturally puts you closer in relationship with God than others. Not that everyone couldn't be there, but it naturally does that. You are, by your mere title, are given a place of honor and connection to God that other people don't think they have. Now, that's another whole thing that happens when you're in ministry, right? You get a title and everybody's like, you're just clearly more spiritual than me. And that's not true. And unfortunately, many people in ministry take advantage of that persona, and they get away with all kinds of shenanigans and sometimes away with crimes because everybody around them is like, well, they're the anointed one. They're the called of God. We shouldn't say anything. I hope that's not you. I hope you say something. If there's shenanigans going on with somebody in your church or your leadership, don't you hold back. Let it rip. It's okay. They are not specially protected people. I'm not saying they weren't called. I'm just saying God doesn't, just don't facilitate stuff like that. I had all kinds of words going through my head. All right, we'll leave it at that. Now, in chapter 19, look at that. We already did a chapter. Bob's amazed. Let me get there. Right, chapter 19. We're going to turn the page. I don't know if you remember, but because of our current circumstances, I could not print out all of the Bible. I used to just literally print out the entire book and put it on the wall so I could read it as we went, but I can't do that anymore. So Moses said, this is the requirement of the law. The Lord has commanded to tell all Israelites to bring you a red heifer without defect or blemish. It is to be taken outside of camp, slaughtered in his presence, in the presence of the priest. Some of the blood, put his finger in it, sprinkle it 7 times toward the front of the tent of meeting. Now remember, he's outside of camp. While he watches, the heifer is to be burned, its hide, its flesh, its blood, its intestines. The priest is to take some cedar wood, hyssop, and scarlet wool, and throw them into the burning heifer. After that, the priest must wash his clothes and bathe himself, that he may come back into camp. The man who burns it is also unclean, has to do some things. A man who is clean shall gather up all the ashes and put them in a ceremonially clean place outside the camp. They are to be kept by the Israelite community for the use of water cleansing. It is for purification from sin. This is the whole idea of like holy water. So as to when this law was given, there is this principle given, there is all kinds of theory on this, lots of dialogue. Does this process make holy water, or were the ashes of this red heifer, hyssop, cedar wood, was all of that some crazy water purification filtering system that turns unclean water into clean water so you can drink it? I don't know. What's interesting is the process of making something, whether it's holy water or making something that will clean water, also makes the people that are making it unclean, and they have to go through a whole process of getting themselves cleaned back up so that they can go back into camp and do their job. The high priest, the priest that cut up the bull, all that stuff. And it all takes place outside the tabernacle, and it all takes place outside the camp. I don't understand it all. I really don't. I know that there are people who have all kinds of prophetic insights into this. But man, the purification thing is crazy. The clothes, the way they have to close their the unclean person, like the law applies to the person when he dies in a tent. This is like if someone dies, right? Anyone who enters the tent, anyone who is in it, is to be unclean for 7 days. Every open container without a lid fastened on it will be uncleaned. Anyone who opens or touches someone who has been killed with a sword, or someone who has died a natural death, or anyone who touches a human bone or a grave will be unclean for 7 days. For the unclean person to put some ashes from the burned purification offering into a jar, pour fresh water on them. The man is the ceremony clean. Take up, so these ashes were used in the process of purifying yourself, as well as purifying water, as well as making it holy water, as well as, it was, honestly, when you read it, sometimes you just look at it and go, this is crazy, right? But it was their way of connecting to God. It was their way of saying, all right, we have done what's necessary to make ourselves ready to hear from God, to be part of whatever God is doing. And that's what they did. This whole system is put into place because people did not want to be that close to God. They wanted a process to get close to God, so they knew and had confidence when they got there that God would accept them. The whole idea of just being accepted by God because he's good and kind and gracious and merciful and loving was like, no way, can't do it. We need things to make us think and feel like we've done it. So these are those things. That's all. That's all. All right, on to the story. Chapter 20. Chapter 20. Now, the first month of the whole Israelite community arrived at the desert of Zin, and they stayed at Kadesh. There Miriam died and was buried, and there was no water for the community, and the people gathered in opposition to Moses and Aaron. So Miriam, that most people believe this happened about 38 years into their 40 years in the wilderness. 38 years after the spies, Miriam dies. And she was one of the last of those that were 20 years or older to die. And she evidently was greatly loved by the people. She was seen as somebody who had access to Moses and Aaron and all the priests. Like, she gave birth, in essence, to the priestly realm. She was honored. She was looked up to. Girls were often named after her. She was popular. Her and Aaron made a run at Moses, but she recovered. She got leprosy. She got healed right away. She spent 7 days outside of camp, and she took her role. She took her role well. So after she dies, they bury her. I'm sure they went through multiple days of mourning, and then the water dried up. There was no water. And they all came to Moses and Aaron. Again, should they have gone to Moses and Aaron? No, they should have went to God. They should have went to 38 years in the wilderness. They should have went to God. They should have picked up on this by now. But you know what's easier than taking responsibility? Going to your leader and telling them they're responsible for your lack of responsibility. So they went there and they were like, hey, they quarreled with Moses. If only we had died when our brothers fell dead before the Lord. Why did you bring the community into this wilderness, that we and our livestock should die here? Why did you bring us out of Egypt to this terrible place? It has no grain, it has no figs, no grapevines, no pomegranates. There's no water to drink. They had a good case. They were not in a good place, right? They were like, hey, what's going on? Why are we here? Miriam dies and the water ends. There are a lot of people who infer from the phrasing of this that most of the people in the Israelite world believed that Miriam was the conduit of the miraculous water that had often flowed or followed them throughout the wilderness. That when they went to places and it was bitter and then it was made whole, that was because of Miriam. So now that she's dead and they lack water, like they correlate the two, like, oh, it was Miriam that did all this. So they go to Moses and Aaron. And they're only a couple years away from going into the promised land, and they're bringing up all the same old stuff. They bring up all the old stuff. Wish we had died with our brothers. They were talking about Korah. They were saying we should have died when I wish the earth had swallowed us all, so that we wouldn't be dying out here with our livestock. Right? It's not a matter of, the need is not the problem here. The need for water is not the problem. That's the circumstance. The problem is, right, the approach. The approach is rebel, complain, tear other people down, exaggerate, deceive. It's something we all get sucked into. That's the bottom line, and we all know it. And I think that's why so many people, when they read these stories, it's like, I relate. But they should have went to God. Why did you bring us to this place? Again, kind of a fair question. Like, they've been to other places. They've been to, large oases in the desert. They've been to villages. They've been to visit, around various towns. They've been in shady areas. They've been in cave areas. They've been in places where water flowed. They've been in places where there was, fruit trees and vegetation that they could draw from. And that was basically what they said in that paragraph. Listen, there's lots of places we could be. Lots of other places we could be. Why did you bring us here? You brought us here where there is nothing that we need. And then the water dried up. So let's see. Moses went to the entrance of the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord appeared to them. The Lord said to Moses, take the staff, and you and your brother Aaron gather the assembly together, speak to the rock before their eyes, and it will pour out its water. You will bring water out of the rock to the community so that they and their livestock can drink. just between you and me, that's a lot of water. Okay, we're not talking about a little sprinkler system going on here. We're talking about a freaking river. So Moses took the staff from the Lord's presence just as he was commanded, and Aaron gathered the assembly in front of the rock, and Moses said to them, listen. Okay, wait a minute. Before we get into that. Moses had his panties in a wad on this one. All right, God commands Moses. He goes, go get the water. Speak to the rock. Now, the rock is basically something that everybody knew, whatever it is. Now, some people believe that it was a rock that had been used before, where Hagar and Ishmael drew water from. Others say that this rock followed them from the last time that gave water. It just rolled along miraculously. And so they all knew where the rock was. And if they ever, I guess, needed water, they figured Moses would go get it from there. I don't know. Both of them sound like fun little nuances to a story that may be true. It always appeared somewhere near the camp, basically. How it got there, nobody knew. Now, Moses takes his staff, but he is annoyed at the people. All right, Moses takes listen, you rebels, verse 10. Must we bring you water out of this rock? Moses raised his arm and struck the rock twice with his staff. Water gushed out, and the community and the livestock drank. But the Lord said to Moses and Aaron, because you did not trust me enough to honor me as holy in the sight of the Israelites, you will not bring this community into the land I give them. These were the waters of Meribah, where the Israelites quarreled with the Lord, and where he proved holy among them. So Moses gets annoyed. Basically, like this happens a lot with leaders, right? Leaders, in essence, know what they're supposed to go do. And then somebody in the assembly tells the leader what they need to do. It's the same thing the leader was planning on doing. And the leader's like, oh, this is so annoying. I mean, sometimes that happens with me. I have a great idea, and I'm going to do it. Like I'm thinking, I know this happens mostly like currently, like in our marriage, right? I'll think to myself, I'm going to take care of whatever. I do a lot of the dinner cooking because I love to grill, and where we are currently, I can grill every day. Like the weather's beautiful all the time. So I usually take care of dinner. So I may have a plan for dinner. Oh, I'm going to do this for dinner. And then my wife will come home, and I'm already in the process of, maybe not physically, but mentally, I've done everything. I'm ready to roll. And then she'll be like, you know what I think we should do for dinner? And she says the same thing. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to do that. Oh, well, are you going to season it with the, yes, I'm going to season it with that. Well, how about if we also do these vegetables? That's what I was going to do. Honey, I have it all. I had it. Forget it. Yes, we'll do. Yes. Like I've learned not to try and prove to her that I've already thought of all this, but that's the kind of frustration I sense in Moses. He's like, what's your problem? Like, you came to me with the need for water. I'm going to get you water. But before I get you water, I want to tell you that you all are just you're annoying me. You're like rebels. You're ridiculous. Do I have to do everything for you? Will you ever just go to God and ask him about something? Why is it that I have to continue to be the mediator between you and God? I was never supposed to be that. It's been 38 years in the wilderness. 38 years. 1 million plus people have died because they didn't trust God with the original plan. And now we're out here and you don't trust him for water? I have to do this. I have to get water from the rock. I'm doing this for you. Again, not a good look, Moses. You really should be giving God credit for this. Just spitballing here, but you might have got yourself in the way of this one. Anyway, Moses takes the well, let me check my yeah, the directors of his actions battles. So, let me just say, there's no way that speech came from God. God was not going to stand before the people and say, listen, I want to teach you a little something. You all are just rebellious and I shouldn't have to keep doing this for you. That was Moses. Did Moses represent God to the people? Absolutely. Did they assume that this was God speaking to them? Absolutely. Did Moses let them think it was God who thought they were rebellious and needed correction? Absolutely, he did. Why did he do that? Because he was frustrated and upset. There's lots of times that, again, people in leadership, they say something, they indicate something, they manipulate something, and people assume that it's God who's giving them this kind of instruction, and it's not. And the leadership knows that, but they let it ride because, well, it's just easier that way. So he hits the rock. He hits it twice. Now, I have met some amazing preachers who have taken the whole concept of the rod representing the cross and the rock representing Jesus, and he was supposed to speak to the rock, and he didn't. He struck the rock the way Jesus is going to be struck. And I mean, honestly, they tear this up in some amazing prophetic insights as to the future of the New Testament. And I'm blown away by people who do that kind of stuff. And I say, God bless them. I'm just telling you the story. He hits it twice. The water flows. The nation and the animals are saved. The river just rolls out of there. Millions of cubic feet of water flowing through millions of people. Sages have really no idea. And no one really knows what the sin that was committed. But Moses and Aaron are now going to die in the wilderness and will not get to live in the promised land. Now, Aaron was looped into this, even though technically it doesn't look like he said anything. But because he was there, he was complicit in what Moses said. He didn't correct Moses. He didn't stop Moses. And maybe it was just the lack of allowing God to take the attention of the people, and instead they took the attention from God. They made it about them. When God says, take the staff, gather the assembly together, speak to the rock, you will bring out the water for the community so they will live and can drink. That verse there, right? Verse 8. There's no conversation that's supposed to take place between Moses and the people. He's like, this is what I want you to do. So the indication is, literarily speaking, the indication is God was going to do something for the people. God wanted their attention. God wanted to communicate something to them. He's like, listen, I just want you to go to the rock, wherever evidently everybody knew where this rock was because of whatever miraculous reason. And he says, I want you to just speak to it. And instead, Moses speaks to the assembly, berates them for their lack of faith, trust, and their annoying behavior. Aaron supports his brother and probably nods or whatever in the background, but he doesn't stop him. And the two of them committed something in there that the Lord was like, all right, the results of your choices here are going to be that you don't get to go in. The way Moses spoke and acted really made people believe that it was God who was upset and angry. right? And taking away an opportunity for God to speak to them may have been all it was. And the Lord's like, you guys are great. I love you, and I'm still going to be good to you, but you're not going to make it into the promised land. And I imagine at some level, Moses probably sat back and was like, wow, I'm not going to make it in. And maybe he was really upset. Then again, maybe he sat back and said, you know what? I am tired. I am tired. And maybe somebody else needs to lead them into the new land, new leader. And maybe this is where he really started to prep Joshua to become the leader into the new land over the next couple of years. He's just like, you know what? I'm going to write some books. I'm going to make sure everybody knows as much as I can remember from what the Lord told me that needs to be part of this new community, this new nature, this new kingdom, this new wineskin, this new culture of the kingdom. All that needs to be part of this. I'm going to try and do my best to make sure everybody knows about it. And I'm going to let someone else lead them. I don't know how he made his peace with all this, but he did. But he did. And you know what? We're going to make our peace with this chapter. I hope you've enjoyed today's episode of the Epic Narrative, and I will see you again next week, where we will continue the journey.
Don't go anywhere. We've got Bob Thoughts.
Well, now, don't you know? Here's some thoughts. I still don't know exactly what Moses did and Aaron did to not be allowed to go into the promised land. God is not, a tit for tat thing. Like, I'm offended. You guys struck the rock, and that represents whatever. Some people think, it represents Jesus. Like, this is a horrible, blasphemous activity. You will never be allowed in the promised land. God doesn't operate like that. I mean, people do, but he doesn't. And we get that because Jesus never did. But something happened that the results of their choice kept them from going in the promised land. And evidently there was no way to counterbalance that. I don't know. It's still something to ponder. And part of me wonders if it wasn't Moses finding a reason as to why he wasn't allowed into the promised land. Like, in his reflection over what happened, that's what he thinks happened. That it was because he hit the rock that he and Aaron weren't allowed in. But I don't know. I wonder if it was another level of something we're not aware of, or a continuation of something that ultimately shut the door on him. But I am curious about that. I mean, I got fired from a job at a church. I know I've talked about it before, but I've been fired, and I didn't really know why. I mean, they said it was because of my job performance, but coming out of nowhere, that didn't seem to make sense. I was doing my job, and I tried. I did. I made 2 specific calls back to the guy who actually did my review and told me I was no longer going to be employed. I did 2 specific calls back and asked about it. What did I do? And I was still not given a clear explanation, or I'd have it, and you would know why. Just didn't work out. So I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever be able to. I mean, maybe if I get a chance to chit chat with Mo, and we'll get a little clearer explanation. Once again, just want to remind you, I am at the time of this recording, which is in the spring of 2025. I'm trying to raise some money to be part of this, be one of the sponsors of a conference called the people putting it on is called the Family Reunion, but the group that I'm a part of is called Rethinking God with Tacos. Anyways, it's a great Facebook group. If you want to jump on it, do it. But Jason Clark is the one who oversees a family reunion, and it's we just track really well theologically and philosophically regarding how to love people with the love of God and how to bring the kingdom of God to earth. So anyways, I'd love to be able to be one of the main sponsors of this event, but it's going to cost $3,000. I put down $500. I don't have any more to give, but if you guys can help me out, that'd be great. Again, you have to contact me directly. I'm not a nonprofit. You can reach out on thebobswitzer@gmail.com. I do have a PayPal account. Well, my wife does. We have a Zelle account, and I have Apple Pay. Those are the main ways to get it to me. And if you wanted to go toward that, we'll just communicate. Just communicate with me, and we'll figure it out. Hope you guys have a great day, afternoon. What time is it? What time is it right now? I'm only kidding. I have no idea what you're saying. All right. We'll see you next week on The Epic Narrative.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening. If you like what you heard, you can subscribe to this podcast on any platform you use. You can also reach out to Bob for questions or booking at thebobswitzer.com or email him at thebobswitzer@gmail.com. See you next week, guys.